Hi, welcome back to Nerd Without Order. My name is Roel Sogero, and today is going to mark the first episode of Walking Dead Wednesdays. For the past 2.5 years, I've been collecting the re-release of Walking Dead in single issues, known as Walking Dead Deluxe. Originally, the series published in the early 2000s, but published in black and white. For creative reasons, also kind of just because it was cheaper for them to print in black and white. Robert Kirkman was working over at Image and publishing a couple of books at a time, which a lot of them didn't make it past like issue 6 or 7. I think at the time Invincible was reaching issue 12, and that was still a little shaky. That's according to his words. At the end of this book, he has some insight on what the creative process was behind each book. And also what was going on in his life at the time. But I'll be reviewing each issue right now. As the recording of this video, there are 77 issues. Again, I've been collecting them and picking them up at my local comic book shop. I just haven't been reading them. So I figured this would be a good way to actually read the books and kind of give my thoughts and opinions over each book. So getting started here, issue 1. These books are starting to get covers from David Finch. He's doing an interpretation of the original covers. This is his interpretation. The original cover is this, so you can see that he used the same concepts, same play. He just changed it up a little bit, and of course it's David Finch art, which, he's probably one of my top 3 artists of all time. So you have obviously writer Robert Kirkman, artist for the art inside the book is the original artist Tony Moore. You have David McCraig, which is the colorist. So again, originally published in black and white, and now this re-release of these single issues are in full color. So that's kind of exciting. I've tried reading The Walking Dead, the original format. And for me, the black and white was just, it was a barrier, to be honest. I couldn't get past it. I know some people might think that's silly. But now that that's in color, I'm a huge Walking Dead fan. My introduction to Walking Dead was the show. And I'm excited to read this. I hear a lot of positive things about the comic compared to the show. Towards the end there at the show, kind of petered out. It wasn't as interesting as the original the first couple seasons. Every now and then there'll be some slow seasons, and then it'll pick up again, and just ultimately the show kind of just didn't do it for me towards there to the very end. I really didn't even finish it. But getting into it, Walking Dead Deluxe issue 1. Story just opens up with a character named Rick Grimes. He's in a shootout. He's a sheriff, and he gets shot. Literally in the first page, he gets shot. And in the next page, he wakes up in the hospital, dazed and confused, not knowing what's going on. Right to begin with, I kind of like that Robert Kirkman didn't have a lot of, he kind of gets right to the point of what's going on, gets into the world of The Walking Dead. Not a lot of words, more of a traditional 9-panel page, which I actually really like. It lets the art speak, tell the story, tell the narrative. Obviously, Rick wakes up, goes into the hallway looking for people, and he opens an elevator and encounters his first zombie. Well, not really a zombie, but just a dead person. He goes to a door that's locked up. In the show, you might remember this door as the one that says dead inside. Rick is in his cloak or in his hospital gown. In the book, he's just in his regular clothes. He finds his clothes in a cupboard next to him, and he goes through that door, and of course he encounters the first zombies, the first walkers of the comic book series. Obviously startled, not knowing what's going on. Rick kind of gets attacked by one of these walkers and falls down the stairs, and kind of lands on him and accidentally breaks his neck, right? He leaves the hospital. Again, At this point of the story, it's not clear how long Rick has been in this, like, somewhat of a coma after being shot. Leaving the hospital. He walks outside, he's walking down the street, and he encounters what's probably one of the most iconic scenes in Walking Dead, the TV show, and I'd probably say even in the comic. Again, this is my first time reading through this comic series, but it's Bicycle Girl. The people that watch the show, I can't remember if it was a girl in the show. I think it was just a guy, to be honest. But Bicycle Girl, his first real, I guess, interaction with like a walker that's not attacking him, right? He just kind of gets to see it all for what it is and not just being in a panic mode and being attacked. Obviously full of emotion. Tony Moore, great art. You have Rick right there shedding a tear, kind of in disbelief of what's... And then we return to the 9-panel grid again. I love the 9-panel grid, not a lot of dialogue, just kind of letting the art speak for itself. Then we have Rick returning home back from the hospital to discover that his house has been ransacked again. I think this also kind of shows that some time has passed, that he was in this coma. Back to the 9-panel grid, very end, you see a shovel flying out, and he gets hit over the head. He encounters a father and a son. In this moment, we don't know who they are. Obviously, the father was like, "What the heck?" Called the son out. His son thought that he was a zombie, that Rick was a zombie, but obviously he wasn't. Then you have the dad kind of tell his son to help him get Rick inside before any walkers show up. Rick wakes up and realizes, a pretty good guy, pretty decent guy. They get to talking. They're actually in Rick's neighbor's house. They get to talking and discussing what's going on, the state of the world. Rick really admires him for taking care of his son no matter what happens. Then Rick decides that, it's time to find his own family. So he takes this guy, they go to the police station where we get an introduction to this character. He is called Morgan, and his son's name is Dwayne. So Morgan and Dwayne obviously get assistance from Rick. Rick goes inside and gets some supplies for himself and for Morgan and his son. And he puts on his iconic sheriff's outfit. He's going to go to Atlanta to find his wife and child. And he thought that wearing this sheriff's outfit might help him along his journey. Maybe people recognize him as a police officer, person of the law, that it might give him an advantage. So they leave the station, and Rick gives Morgan a car to get around. Tells him to kind of take care of it. I think it's kind of funny that, in Rick's mind, he thinks this is going to be over sometime, within the next couple of weeks, maybe months. But of course, as we know, it's going to be a long time before anything happens. And then they stumble across a walker on the other side of the fence. Rick kind of panics and wants to shoot the walker. But Morgan kind of stops him and tells him, "Hey man, you don't need to shoot him. Save that bullet. You might need it for something else later." And they let each other out the gates. They say their goodbyes. Rick asks Morgan to keep an eye on his house, because he's staying at his neighbor's house. And then it shows that Rick drives off. As he's driving off, he makes a quick stop. And it's Bicycle Girl. And I think it kind of circles back to, he was very emotional at the very beginning of the book when he first encountered Bicycle Girl. Kind of shoots her in the head, kind of closes some emotions off there. I don't know if that's kind of like, okay, things are getting serious. And he's going to get down to business to go find his family, do whatever he needs to do. Overall, pretty strong first issue. I couldn't imagine, when these this comic series first published a long time ago in the early 2000s, how gripping this must have been. Of course, now this is me coming years later after watching the show and kind of giving up on the show. I think this is a pretty strong issue. Kind of sets everything up pretty well. This is almost like the first 2 or 3 episodes of the show, just in one issue, so that's pretty cool. At the very back of the book, you have this thing called letter hacks. So it kind of just tells what Robert Kirkman was thinking at the time, what was going on at the creation of this book. This is where he states that he decided to print this book originally in black and white because of, you know, all the books that he was publishing or sending out, you know, through Image, and they weren't lasting very long. Invincible being the only one to go to issue 12, and even at issue 12 it states here that, you know, it was kind of a little shaky if, you know, that was gonna even last that long. So he thought that maybe printing in black and white could maybe make the series last a little bit longer. Also gives a nod to George Romero, the creator of Night of the Living Dead, who essentially is the godfather, the father of zombies. He created the zombie genre pretty much, saying that he kind of gave it a nod towards that because that film in the 60s was in black and white, so he kind of saw this as a pseudo sequel to that movie, and by publishing it in black and white, you know, kind of refers and nods to that. Cutting room floor is a section of this that each issue has at the very back that kind of states what Robert Kirkman left, you know, didn't make it into the book essentially. Unfortunately, there's not much on this one. It all kind of ties into like the characterization, since it was the first issue, just more talking about what he decided to call the characters. Like he called Morgan Black Dude. Yes, he was referred as Black Dude, but obviously over time, you know, he came up with character names, wrote dialogue, and all that. So hopefully issue 2 has a lot more what was left on the cutting room floor. And then at the very back of the book, you kind of have these variant covers by the different creators. So here's a David Finch. Awesome piece right there, man. David Finch is so good. The next one is Eric Larson. I think he might have been one of the original creators. I could be wrong. And then this last one, Michael Golden. Another shot of Rick. And then here's all the variant covers for issue 2. 5 variant covers. I picked up the David Finch ones. I try to get as many of the David Finch. I think most of the 77 issues that I have now are mostly David Finch. I think I have maybe a handful that aren't, just because I couldn't pick up. By the time I got to it, you know, all the Finch covers were gone. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. I'll be reviewing each and every issue as we go. That was issue 1. Thoughts and opinions. I mean, good so far. Gripping, of course. Again, I'm coming from the perspective of I've already watched most of the show, but I'm very excited to see where the series goes. And I mean, I have faith in Robert Kirkman. I mean, the first few seasons of Walking Dead, the TV show, seems to be that they were tied really close to the source material. Those later seasons is where they kind of varied off and did their own thing, and that's where it suffered. So I enjoyed those first seasons. I'm enjoying this book so far, and I'll see you guys on issue 2. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe. Really helps me out. Thank you. Bye.